Welcome to On the Road to Rock for the first time. Guitarist extraordinaire, guitarist virtuoso. There's a word that's not thrown around, right? Phil X. Phil X and the Drills.
That's right. How's it going, man?
It's going great. It's so great to have you, man. Okay, off the bat, because I'm a sports guy. You're from Canada. You're from Toronto.
Yes.
Are you a hockey guy? Did you enjoy that Four Nations thing that Canada won, beat the U.S.?
I heard about it. I didn't really follow it. I've been so busy the last couple of weeks, and somebody was talking about it yesterday, actually, and I was like, "What happened?" But I grew up, and I tried hockey out, and I wasn't very good at it. So I traded the stick for a guitar. I think it worked out all right.
It did. I'm in Kansas City, so like the Chiefs just lost the Super Bowl epically to the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm taking like a break from sports, which leads us to this interview. It's great. I'm trying to escape from sports right now through music, and Phil X and the Drills have provided that escape, much needed. And the new album, which Phil, I gotta be honest, I think we're like kindred spirits. We got probably the similar sense of humor because you guys always have the best, like ironic, funny, humorous, metaphorical song titles and album titles. And Pal, Right in the Kisser, coming out here March 28th.
Yeah, March 28th. I'm excited.
I'm excited because it's absolutely fantastic. I got the whole thing from Frontiers. It's so good. And that title just reminds me of something that you would have heard. I don't know if you followed like wrestling back in the day in the 80s. Like Gorilla Monsoon used to always say right in the kisser. He used to always use that term. I don't know if that
it goes back to black and white television, like the old sitcom. And I think it was one of these days, pow, right in the kisser. And I remember I just remember I love the sound of that, and I always feel like music should do that. I feel like music should punch you in the face, and I think we did that with this record. I really do.
I'm just enamored by the structure of this and how you've throughout your career, the last 20 years of doing this project, maintaining this really kind of a punk sensibility, but all the songs are so digestible and just really wonderful as far as just creating that balance.
Well,
and you know what I mean?
I feel like when I talk about writing and stuff like that, we've always had this tongue-in-cheek interpretive style, which thank you for. I mean, we do have some cool titles, but I felt like I really wanted to get deeper on this record, and there are the punk sensibility songs on this record, but there's also like Broken Arrow, for instance. I wrote that right after I learned that Chris Cornell had passed.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there's no way years ago would I have touched on a topic or anything associated with suicide. So, and I really wanted it to be poetic, and I just didn't want it to be blatant, So a lot of people don't even know it's about that. But if you really, really, look into it, because I guess it could be related to anything. The lyric that says, "What's it like to shut the voice of reason down?" So if you're about to do anything, there's the voice of reason saying maybe you shouldn't do that, but then you just shut that voice down and do what you're going to do, and then at the end of it, you're somewhere else. And the next question I ask is, how's the view? Like, did you make the right decision? So, I mean, it could be based on anything, but like I said, this record is like 10 years in the making.
Right.
And, You Sunk My Battleship was recorded in 2014 with Brian Tishy on drums, and then the last song recorded was with Tosh Peterson, who's in the current single video. He recorded this song because I just wrote it at the time, which seemed like a good idea. And that was recorded in 2024, like October, I think. So that's a 10-year span with so many things in between, including life. There was Bon Jovi records and Bon Jovi tours and other records and other tours. And I became a dad for the second time with my daughter in 2016. So, I mean, and then you just want to be a dad for a while. You don't even want to think about music. But then, hey, maybe got to get back to this. It's that kind of thing. So, and then I decided, okay, I have this collection of songs with 11 drummers.
Right.
I got to put it out. So I started a pre-sale, and this is how time flies. I started a pre-sale on my own March 2024. So that's a whole year ago.
Yeah.
And all these people pre-ordered it, and I had perks of pre-ordering and stuff like that. And I said it's going to come out in the summer, but then at the same time I was reached by Frontier saying we want to put this record out. So then it's negotiations and going back and forth and that, and then the industry rollout time, and then now the record's finally coming out. So it's been a huge process.
It has, and you mentioned the drummers, and you've been notorious for working with some of the best drummers in rock throughout all the things that you do. One in particular is one our audience probably is quite familiar with. You talked about the video for "Fake the Day Away." There's a distinctive sound that comes from that. That's the drummer that's not in the video, which is Tommy Lee. Talk about working with him. His sensibilities as a drummer to me are almost unparalleled. He's always been my top 5 drummer for me. So what he adds to the song and just kind of how that came about.
Yeah, you kind of nailed it on the head. But your opinion is kind of like the minority almost. Like a lot of people think of Tommy Lee as a meat and potatoes drummer because of Motley Crue. But me having worked on his previous solo records and being in the room playing with him and feeling how he can groove and has this imagination for fills and stuff like that, I wanted to capture that. I really did. And the funny thing was, the story is a great story. I mean, every drummer has a great story on this record, but that particular story is me wanting to pitch a song that he could connect to. And so I was looking on YouTube for a Tommy Lee drum solo at a Motley Crue show. And so I found this groove, and he's killing this groove. And I'm like, oh my God. So I wrote Fake the Day Away to that groove. And then that's how much I had him in mind.
I love that. And I love it.
But he changed, but this is how Tommy is. I sent all the drummers like a vocal and a guitar. I didn't want any drum ideas. I wanted it to be a blank slate so everybody could come in and do this thing. So I sent that to Tommy Lee, and he sampled it, slowed it down about 10 beats per minute, and sent it to me saying, I love it. This is the tempo. And I'm like, okay, you're the boss. And then when we got in the studio with Dan, me, Tommy, and Dan, we're just playing it live off the floor, and we got the tones and everything's cooking. And he goes, "Hey Phil, can we bring it back another 2 beats per minute?" I'm like, "Yes." So we do that. Again, you're the boss. And then we brought it back another 2 beats per minute. So it's way slower than the original idea.
Interesting.
But that's the tempo that you hear on the record.
It's a perfect fit. And had you sent this to him? Because you guys opened for Motley last summer on a show or two.
Yeah.
So is that kind of how this got going?
No, we recorded that Tommy song in like 2015.
Oh my God. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So
we go way back. So we did that in 2015. And the funny thing is about the whole story, the funniest part is the punchline where it's mixed. I've sung it. I've done the overdubs, mixed by Chris Lord-Alge. I send it to him and go, "Hey, here's the final mix." And he hits me back and goes, "It's amazing. Did you speed it up?"
He had that in his mind, right? He knew.
But you know what? I think the tempo that it's at is so sexy to me. And I was talking to Everett, who plays percussion with Bon Jovi, because he listened to it and he called me and he goes, "I love the space in the vocal of the verse. There's so much space. You say one word and then a whole thing goes by, and then a couple of words and then a thing goes by, and it makes the drum beat and the riff really breathe." And I'm like, yeah, but actually when I thought about it at that moment, it wasn't that much space when it was a lot faster. But when we slowed it down, I didn't want to change it.
Right.
So
I love that.
Everything fell into place perfectly for that song.
How does it make you feel when, as we get on the cusp of the release, which is March 28th, that, such renowned rockers in our field, such as, I don't know, Sammy Hagar, this guy, John Bon Jovi. They're putting out videos on Instagram and they're praising this album and they're really into how that brings it to the masses. And there's just got to be a gratifying feeling when something. I just saw the Sammy Hagar one right before this, right before I got. I was like, oh my god, thank goodness I saw that, because I was blown away. He was like rocking out in his place, like he had it on. He had "Faking the Day Away" on, rocking it out.
You know, that to me is like, and you know, I played with Sammy on Thursday and Saturday of last week.
Oh yeah,
he's just a real dude, man, and he delivers. And he came on stage and we played songs, and he has a way that he does stuff, and he's fun backstage, and his history is like, I learned rock candy, I think, when I was 14.
Oh,
or maybe even 13, and I've played that song with him at Michael Anthony's. He had a fundraiser for children's hearts conditions, and I go, you know, Michael Anthony was like, okay, so we'll play Somebody Get Me a Doctor, but then I want you to play a song with Sammy. And I'm like, I don't really know any Sammy, you know, Van Hager stuff. And he goes, well, let's just do Candy. And I'm like,
let's go.
I know that. So it was really amazing. And that's the first time I played with Sammy. And then amazing. It's just, he's such a great dude. And John, man, John is such a gracious guy. I mean, I just texted him and said, hey, bud, do you mind putting out a word on our new single? And I sent him the song because I want it to be real. I want you to dig the tune. And I want you to, and he, you know, he even said, hey, check it out. And there's a video, and he's still singing great and playing great. And you got to check it out. I'm like, wow, man. You know, I just felt it, you know, he's a really gracious guy with everybody around him. The team is very much a family and a brotherhood and a gang, if you will. And the same, you know, when this kind of stuff happens, I just feel like a kid getting on Christmas, you know. It's just, and even I'm so grateful for all the drummers that appeared on this record. It's like unbelievable, and a lot of them we worked on other projects together. I can't even count how many records that Kenny Aronoff and I have played on together. I've lost count. But he's such a great guy, and he came in and nailed that song, and asking Tico to do it on a day off tour in Vegas. And hey, man, I know you like to golf on days off, but if I get a studio, will you play drums on a song? And he was all in. Unbelievable. And in Liberty DeVito, Bon Jovi was doing 2 sold-out nights at Madison Square Garden in New York. And I just called, hey, Lib, I know you're in New York. I rented the Power Station. I might as well get a legendary studio for a legendary drummer, right? So I hired the Power Station, and we all met there, and he played on my song, man. And I'm walking to sound check for night 2 at Madison Square Garden. I'm walking on air. I'm like, I can't believe that just happened. You know, it's and Tishy and I go way back. He's one of my favorite rock and roll drummers, Brian Tishy. Tosh Peterson is the new kid on the block and the whole drum world. And you got guys like Ray Luzier, who played on the first single, Don't Wake Up Dead, and Jeremy Spencer, who was actually a drummer in the Drills in the beginning, way before Five Finger Death Punch. And that worked out for him.
Yes.
And he played on the second single, Moving to California. And aside from the guys I've mentioned, there's Gary Novak. We've done records together. Me and Gary, like, we've played on stuff together that just, and he floored me. Like, the way he grooves and the way he plays. And he's not afraid, even going to tape, he's not afraid to take chances on fills because he knows he's going to land on where he needs to be. And I love that about his playing. All these guys just saying yes to playing on the record. It's just amazing.
But it's because you've earned that and you've become such a respected guitarist and have been for so long. And it's definitely not something that's lip service. It's not BS. It's this record to, you know, really deserves those words. And Sammy, I think one of the funny things he said, he goes, this is Phil X, man. He's great. It's like, and he can sing. That's him singing. As if that's a unknown commodity that you bring to the table.
Well, you know, the other thing too is we were playing Rock and Roll by Zeppelin on Saturday in the encore, I think, or in his set. In his set, we were doing Rock and Roll. And he looked at me and goes, "You want to take a verse?" I'm like, "Okay." So I took the second verse in Rock and Roll. And he was like, "I didn't know you could sing like that."
You learn something new every day. And it's funny, I was getting ready for this interview last week, kind of got it set up, and I'm like, sometimes the gods just smile down on you, and something like, oh, I don't know, this happens. And you, of course, mentioned it earlier, Rock for Responders, and what an event it was, and just the who's who out there. I mean, so many great artists, but the internet just sort of blew up right here, Phil, when this happened.
There's a lot of stink face in that photo.
That's the signature. It's got to be that, or that's what it's got to be.
That's great.
I mean, this iconic, and then the song you guys played, "Live on a Prayer," and sang it amazingly, and then just the internet just kind of blows up when you see you, Richie Sambora, Orianthi there, kind of playing that song. Just what was that moment like, and then what is kind of the feedback have you gotten since? Because people are just, it's like craziness. The internet tends to do that. I guess we'll just leave it at that.
Funniest comments, because I didn't post it, but it got posted everywhere.
Right.
And some of the I was curious, so I'm going through comments, and some of the comments are like, "Wait, they're friends?
That can't be allowed."
What are we 8?
Yeah.
You know? They even called me, and they said, "Hey, you're on the gig, and you're the house guitar player, and we just found out that Richie wants to come and play Living on a Prayer." Hey, and I'm like, "Well, we're both adults, so I'm sure we can handle it, So, and it's funny because we hung out before, and then we played, and then we hung out after, and it's like two dudes hanging out. It was great. But it's funny how people read into stuff, like,
sure.
He came on stage, and some people are like, "Oh my God, Richie didn't even acknowledge Phil when he came on stage." Come on, man. And then there was another part where I was laying out. They were both doing the riff,
right?
And I'll do the supporting chorus, bah, bah, lay out, bah, 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 like a really groove, right? It doesn't need 3 guitar players doing that. So they were doing it, and then there was one point there was a friend in the audience in the front row, and for a joke, when I was laying out, and I look at my fake, I wasn't even wearing a watch. I'm looking at my fake watch going, 1, 2, 3, boom. So, and then there's a comment like, "Oh my God, Phil looked at his watch." It's like,
he wants out of there. He's done with it. Oh, it was great. And so not only that, which was tremendous, but just all the players. I mean, gosh, Kevin Cronin. I mean, Steve Stevens was there, a huge friend of the show. Steve Stevens, one of my favorite guitarists right there. Yeah. I mean, just what a event this was, and a great cause.
This is the greatest story. Okay, one of the greatest stories. So Robin Zander came to rehearsal. He kills it every time. He's amazing. So but he saw Steve, and he goes, "Hey, I want to do Rebel Yell." We didn't do it on Thursday, but we did it on Saturday. So at this private party that most of the cast went to, so I'm here. I'm witnessing Robin Zander ask Steve, "Can we play Rebel Yell?" And then Steve Stevens looks at me and goes, "Hey, do you know it?" And I'm like, "Not really." And he goes, "I'll show it to you." So Steve Stevens showed me how to play Rebel Yell. How cool is that?
Did you get it? Did you get it the first time? I love that. That's riffs like off the charts.
Dude, we talked about it all the time because he can do everything that everybody else in the 80s could do, but he had his own lane with
yeah.
And nobody can touch that. He is so good and so amazing and so articulate, and just he had his thing. And at the time I didn't know he could do everything, but he can do anything, man. He's like one of those guys that can just do anything. And then but staying in his lane, like I said, with Billy Idol, that was amazing. So I mean, and then we were playing Deep Purple stuff and the Cheap Trick stuff and the Sammy Hagar stuff. Steve Stevens does an incredible pound cake. I'm like, "You take this. I'm gonna take a break because you got this." It was amazing.
Is this because deep down you can't handle Van Hagar? That's the theme I'm getting here, Phil. There's no Van Hagar for you.
No. You know what? I mean, when the split happened, I was so. I mean, I'm a disciple of Ed. I'm such an Edward geek,
And as you should be.
I'm such an Edward geek. From it doesn't even beyond the playing and the joy he had on stage and all this stuff. I got so much from him. But when it came to Eat 'Em and Smile and 5150, I kind of veered towards Eat 'Em and Smile because my Van Halen was party rock.
Yes.
Right. And I loved the songs with Sammy, but it wasn't the same band. It was, to me, it was the same band. But those songs, like I got to play. So we played I Can't Drive 55, and we played Only One Way to Rock.
Freaking great.
Right. We played that. And then Steve played Pound Cake, and I played Standing on Top of the World. So, I mean, I had to learn it and I was, it was one of the hardest Van Halen songs I ever had to learn.
I can see that.
Nothing super technique-y, acrobatic nuttiness, but some of the shots are like, what is that? Man, it's the Van Halen brothers, man. They're doing like Dutch jazz or something. And me and Matt had to lock it in. It had to be, there's so many weird timing things that we had to lock in. Otherwise it would sound like crap. So I really, it was like doing calculus for me. And, but it came out great. It was, and Sammy sings the shit out of everything. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm going to try to catch Sammy. It is doing a Vegas residency coming up here this spring. Got to catch that.
I'm going.
I'll see you there because it's, there's something about this band that he's put together for this kind of all-encompassing tour he's doing of his career, and it's just really leaning into the Van Halen stuff, and then
I saw it. Did you see the last tour?
Oh yeah, of course.
I saw it in LA, and I was just, and you know what? What's mind-boggling to me is, and actually it was Satriani who made me realize how incredible Edward's rhythm parts were on all that Sammy era stuff. Unbelievable.
We talked about the difficulty of it. This is Joe Satriani talking about, I had to really dial in, like you said, I had to really dial in on this because it's something as like a non-player like me. It's like, oh yeah, go play Van Halen. We know, I know what I hear. I know what I like. Go play it. Okay. Well, easier said than done.
It's a different thing nailing I'm the One.
Right.
And On Fire than Standing on Top of the World or Pound Cake or any songs from 5150 to Moving On. It's a different animal. So, but it's and Ed was becoming some of the it was even not even the solos for me, but just watching Satch do all the segues from a chorus to a bridge that Ed did, or this ending thing that Ed did, and all this stuff that Ed did, and Joe's killing it, and it really made me appreciate it big time.
What is things looking like for you as this album comes out? Of course, want to keep bringing light to it. March 28th coming up here, and I can't put it over enough. I'm someone that, I get sent a lot of things, and I hear a lot of albums, and it's great because I actually take the time to go listen song by song, and you don't do that as much anymore. This album deserves that. It demands that to be played kind of in an order as an album. It's available for pre-order now on Frontiers. Comes out March 28th. What is your live schedule looking like kind of for the rest of the year? I know you guys did some shows last year. What about this year? I know you may be waiting.
There's always some
Bon Jovi news.
I'm waiting for my day job schedule so I can fill the holes with drills. Wow,
right.
That's a terrible pun.
That's on the next album. It won't take 10 years, but just keep that one in mind.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I really think I'm excited I'm actually thinking about songs and stuff for the next record. Whoops, I lost my light. But so because I'm when you're a musician, you're always creating, right? So we'll see where we're at.
And so I know the Bon Jovi, you guys are going to release like a re-release of Forever. Is that coming up? What's going on with that?
I don't want to kind of give away too much.
Fair enough.
Again, I don't want to dilute.
Come on, it's on
the
Blabbermouth.
announcement.
Well, I think there was an official announcement at least that it was going to happen on Blabbermouth.
There is something happening, but and there's so many. See, I can't taint the
right.
The, I don't want to give too much away. Yeah.
I got to ask
for this talk, man. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. No, I just kind of want to ask you because I saw the first full tour that you did when you came in 2013, stepping in. I saw that show in Kansas City, and I just kind of want to ask you about John as a person. He's someone that we see how generous he is. The way he spoke about your new album.
Yeah.
Everyone's seen the video of him literally talking someone off of a bridge.
Yeah.
And he's someone that has never you've read Motley Crue's The Dirt. We know about so many 80s bands and excesses and problems and drama and breakups and fights. Just talk about John as a person and what it's like working with him.
Well, I mean, I got a different John in 2013 when I was filling in, and I think if I wouldn't have showed up, I think the only option was taking 150 people off the road, sending them home, and telling all the fans that go to multiple shows to cancel their flights and hotels. I don't think that was an option for him, and because I helped him out, which I was helping the band out. I wasn't there to replace Richie. I was there just to help the band out. And I think, so I got a Bon Jovi that was grateful to me every day. He said, every day he came up to me and said, thanks for being here. Thanks for doing this. And because he knew the depth of that. And I knew the depth of that. I wasn't going to let anybody down. So there was the relationship that we had was based on that. On a really good give and take out of the gate. So, I mean, he was always great. He was always fantastic. And I always piling homework on my plate. Hey, I know you have a day off tomorrow, but I need you to learn these 2 songs. Okay.
That you're constantly being told to learn songs. I've noticed people are just like, just learn this, you learn this, learn that, learn it.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. When I was 18 in a cover band, learning songs, I could learn 5 songs and play them that night at the Gasworks in Toronto. But man, being almost 60, it doesn't work the same way.
I can't say anything. You look my age. I'm 41. You look younger than me. So I mean, when you're not a rock star, you get grayer faster. You get thinner. If I would have just been a rock star and not a media guy, I think I could have maintained a better look.
I think you're delusional. I think this is a lot of work.
Well, job well done, sir.
Thanks, man. I appreciate
Phil,
it.
before we let you go, man, I got to hit you with our final 4 drum roll. 4 quick questions. You give us what comes to mind. We'll have some fun with it. What was the first concert you ever attended?
Cheap Trick.
In Toronto.
Yeah. At Gardens. I was 14. It was 1980. And I told Robin this last week.
Wow.
I said my first concert was Cheap Trick, and Graham Parker and The Rumor opened up.
That's amazing. Great first show.
Yeah.
What is is there or has there been or could there be a Bon Jovi song that you have fought to get in the set that hasn't made it yet that maybe someday will?
Oh, I think Let It Rock would be awesome.
That would be. I love that.
Yeah.
I'll send an email. What is the first album that you bought with your own money or that you stole?
No, dude, I washed dishes at my dad's restaurant when I was 11, and I took my pay every Tuesday and bought records across the hall in the mall. And I don't remember the first one, but it was during that time that I bought Highway to Hell, the first Def Leppard record, On Through the Night. I bought Heaven and Hell by Black Sabbath, and Van Halen 2.
That's like a Mount Rushmore for me right there. So
Yeah.
Heaven and Hell's my favorite Sabbath record, actually. So
Dude,
yeah, speak the
I
same
learned
language.
so much from that record over and over.
You can play one set as a guitarist with any band, living or dead, doesn't matter. You're not necessarily replacing anyone. You're just out there rocking with your heroes. So what band are you playing with?
I gotta be honest. It's AC/DC.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love that.
it would be an AC/DC set for sure.
Okay, I'm
But
calling it out. I love that.
I gotta go. I'm sorry. I got another one right after this.
Phil, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. Can't wait for the new album. It's so good, man. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks a lot.